And the number is 800-8949, 800-8949. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have a problem, let us discuss it. Maybe there's some suggestions that are just kind of basic, and I hope to be a good enough host to let you talk. Okay, I really don't want to just say, well, you've given me 8 sentences and now I've got your answer. I'm really not like that. And if I think that the problem is too complex to get into the show or into a segment, well, I'll hope gracefully to tell you that, well, listen, I appreciate hearing from this, but I'm not sure we can answer that, and I don't think I'm qualified to answer it, or I'm just not sure. So, we don't make a promise about anything here on the David Tula Show, but we do want to listen. And you, my listener, know that there probably is at least one other person listening. And so that person has to be benefited from our conversation. That's how I always evaluate everything on the David Tula Show. And that's how we evaluate all that we have here on Nougat Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 FM HD4. We're live, just by the way, we're live on your TV right now. If you have a late model TV, YouTube is built in as a channel, and we're Nougat Radio, the Nougat Radio channel on YouTube on your TV. So if you have an old aunt maybe, or an old uncle, or if you're like Susan Biro, who lives on Thurman Lane, and whose husband, Andy, a former auto mechanic with some heart issues, sits around a lot. Well, Andy can watch our show on TV. So just think about that. It's an amazing interpenetration of all these media platforms, TV, radio, writing. I'm the blogger with the biggest pen, and yet what the heck am I doing on radio? I mean, I don't get that. It's just amazing. And my head is spinning, and probably because I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be the blogger with the biggest pen, the smartest guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga. Trying to be smart by listening to people and really just giving attention to them. And I don't have all the answers, and so I try to recognize that I don't, and I want to be able to help you. And I think we have, as you're joining us here on the David Tula Show, a benefit and insight which will be helpful, especially if you're one of the hundreds of families in Chattanooga. There maybe even 1,000. I'm not sure how many, but there are several hundred families that are being banned from earning a living, banned from buying medications, banned from traveling, banned from buying a better car, banned from making car repairs, banned from going down certain aisles of the grocery store because there are things there that they cannot afford, things that their ailing husbands, Andy, age 64, might really like, but we just can't afford the apple pie. I was waiting to pick up a son yesterday, and I actually had some downtime. I never have downtime, so I said, well, I'll just go into Aldi, my favorite grocery store, and guess what? I walked out with something. None of it was essential, but one thing was an apple pie. But Andy and Susan may not be able to afford the apple pie that I can enjoy with my son over some ice cream. The son says you should put it in the micro for 30 seconds and then put ice cream on it. It smells good and it tastes wonderful. She can't do that as easily as she wants to because of a wrong being done to Susan Biro, 60, here in our studio, right here, and you can see what she looks like before you even hear her. You can see what Susan looks like on our channel, on your TV, on the YouTube channel, Nougat Radio. Well, Susan, tell my listener what's going on at Thurman Lane. Why were you today in Judge Sherry Petty's court as observer? What were you observing, and what happened?
Well, I was observing what I heard, that there would be the first short-term rental people would be going to court, and for violations, for non-compliance, where it's virtually impossible to comply. There's people that are within that little magic area that they can run Airbnb that are having a hard time getting past for whatever reason. There's a lot of people outside the Airbnb area or short-term rental area that they're allowing that are out of that area that just can't, we have to shut down. We were paying taxes, and now we just have to shut down because Chattanooga says so.
Well, okay, so shut down means what? What does that mean?
I can't operate anymore, and I can't earn money from renting out a room in my own home for short-term rental.
Well, say something about the time in which you were exercising your constitutional liberties and rights and having guests? What kind of guests did you have? Where in your house did they stay? Did you vacate the house when they were there? What exactly happened, Susan, in your little business through Airbnb?
I have a room in the rear of the house, and it's accessible by itself. It has its own entranceway, and it's attached to my house, but there's a door between us. It's locked. The people that I've had from Airbnb, every one of them are phenomenal. They're background checked before they ever be able to get on the site, and so was I. I really don't know. The income was just booming, and I pay taxes on a hotel rate to the city of Chattanooga.
What can you give some idea of the kind of taxes? How many hundreds of dollars a month, let's say, maybe?
Well, I know that it's at the hotel rate at 16%, and the Airbnb actually collects it and remits it, so I don't have those figures handy.
All right, so that's just kind of skimmed off the top by the middleman, which is the Airbnb company, a gigantic combine of servers and offices and
yes,
people sitting behind computers in neon lit rooms in faraway cities. So that's the hub. And you are a beneficiary of that hub because you have turned your stale asset into a property that creates an income, or if not income, a revenue or cash flow for you.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, how many guests or different parties did you have in the time that you were allowed?
About 6 months that I ran, I'm going to say I probably had 25, 30 people, and I've had people from France, from Texas, from different states, Indiana, Florida, and, they book the room. Sometimes they book it when they're on the road because they decide it's too far. They can't drive anymore. Sometimes they plan it ahead, and they have plans to come to Chattanooga, to go to the zoo, to go to the aquarium, to spend money downtown.
Well, Thurman Lane is in Hickson, right?
Yes.
So it's really close to many things. Hickson being, in a way, the center. Of course, since our studio's in East Ridge, we think East Ridge is the center of the universe, Susan Biro, but Hickson is, in its own way, can claim that right too. And so some came just on short-term notice. Why your house? I have the feeling that your house is a very modest looking place, nothing fancy. Why do people end up in working man's houses in working man's neighborhoods, Susan?
Because it's doable for them. They can't if they stop at a hotel, it's $200 a night because they're tired of driving. It's already the middle of the night. Who wants to do that? And then they're going to move on. But what I'd like to kind of say about it is this is really ridiculous because it's been going on since the beginning of time, where people would ride on their horse and stop and stay in somebody's barn. It's just ridiculous.
In what way are you involved in economic development, which our city, our mayor, and our city council are both in favor of, Susan Biro?
They don't seem much in favor of if they're writing citations for people who are bringing in business.
And not only do they not get their chit, their part of the pie, they're denying you by their ordinance the pie that you need. Well, what kind of, have you bought any apple pies lately for Andy, your husband?
No, we're on a pretty strict budget. It would almost be the only thing worse than shutting down my income from my Airbnb is if Social Security decided not to send me a check because I live at that address. That's pretty much what they've done. Well,
Social Security is going to go bankrupt, and the government's lights are going to go out at some blessed point in the near future. So you may be really hurting, Susan Biro. So your income or the money coming into your house by direct deposit or other means is Social Security.
Yes.
Does your husband get supplemental security income or anything like that?
No, just
the good people.
No, just Social Security.
Well, he was a mechanic. Now, what about the business for whom he did his mechanicking?
He actually was freelance, and he worked car lot to car lot, and it was his own business.
Well, what about you? You have income as or some kind of earnings as a productive member of society, Susan?
I have Social Security disability.
Well, it seems like the ordinance practically is preventing you from having the means and sustenance. Well, what about the house? Is there a note on the house?
Yes.
And you write a check to the bank. Say something about that.
Yes, there's a note on the house, and with my Airbnb, we barely pay that bill and our, just monthly bills, electric and all of that. And with Airbnb, we're able to also spend money in Chattanooga.
So because you don't have the Airbnb income, thanks to Mayor Andy Burke and Darren Ledford and the other good people on the city council, your house and the air conditioning unit probably runs on a higher number than than the perspiring Andy would like. He probably wants to have it set at 78 or so, where I generally like to have it. But you say, look, Andy, let's keep it at 80 because otherwise that's going to be an extra $45.
Right. We have to watch every penny.
Well, yeah, so you see, my listener, there's a problem here in having a bad law. Now, bad law is often convenient, and that's what in fact, I have a nice piece coming out in Nuganomics.com in the next day or two on this whole problem of good law is inconvenient and bad law is often convenient. Bad law lets people in high office do what seems right in their eyes. And we have a call. Thanks for ringing in. This is David Toulis. What's on your mind?
Just got a question. I haven't been following this as much as I should have, but what is the city council, why are they even saying that, we have a property owner who pays their taxes, who seems very, very, capable of doing things? Why is the city even saying, hey, look, no, you can't do this? Because it's her property. So she should be able to do anything that she wants to with it within the legal ramifications of life. And as long as she's not creating a nuisance to her neighbors, what's the problem?
Well, that's a great question. So let me hold on. Let me ask you a follow-up question from the callers kind of making me ask about. Susan, are you a corporation in some way, or are you doing your Airbnb work as a private person, an individual person?
I'm just a private person.
A human being, Homo sapiens.
Yes.
Okay. Well, do you know why I asked that question?
I don't.
Well, because Susan,
other than maybe needing a business license.
Well, she's acting in her personal capacity as a human being. In other words, she's not a corporation. Now, corporations have constitutional rights too, but human beings have more, right? Because human beings are real creatures. They're not legal fictions like corporations are. And so it seems that if she is not a corporation, she's not running an investment property, she's not generating an income. She may have cash flow, but she's not generating an income in a business capacity from her property, that she should have every right to do so. And
right, she should.
Go ahead.
And, even if the requirement was, look, get a business license, well, that should be okay or should be good. And it's like she even said there, Airbnb is paying the taxes to the city at the hotel rate. So the city's not missing out anything. So to me, this is more of a decline of income for the city, who Lord knows they don't have their mess together as it is. This is another way for our town to bring in revenue. We've got some of the best places to visit, like you said, the aquarium. We've got Lookout Mountain area and all those attractions. So why is the city against bringing in people to visit our town who, hey, may even go, hey, look, Chattanooga's a pretty place. I'm going to move to Chattanooga. Why are we opposed to this as a city?
Well, let me ask you this, caller, and Susan Bureau, maybe you can listen in and maybe give an answer to why, if we're the gig city, are we effectively putting up a Beijing wall around ourselves, banning the use of the internet here in the high-speed gig city? We have the fastest internet in the country, or maybe even in the world, and we're by ordinance not letting our residents use the internet to generate a private income for private cash flow for private gain. How does that work in your mind?
It blows my mind. I can't wrap my head around the thought of, we don't want to share what we have. We don't want those people to stay for a night or two. That's, again, 17% taxes that come to the city for a night. That's 17% more than we had yesterday.
Yeah, I talked with Clint Cobb, Amanda's dad, who's in the kind of rental business, has some Airbnbs that are so-called legal, and he says the tax take is 27%. So that's a huge grab on his assets, and so here the city is denying itself this skimming operation, and also denying him, and here now Susan Bureau, this effectively this free money serving people. Don't forget, when money comes in, it's not just that you're not stealing it, you are providing a service to some stranger from another country or another state who wants to come here and see what a home looks like. And there's such a bit. Let me ask you on the phone, have you been to an Airbnb somewhere else? Have you ever used that service or a service like it?
No, not yet. It's something me and my wife are looking at doing whenever we go on another vacation down in New Orleans. Actually, we're looking at doing it not long ago. And it looks like a good idea. And the pricing was very reasonable compared to a hotel. And, I don't know what the lady there was charging per night in her house, but,
what were you charging?
I don't want to spend $70 a night or $200 a night to stay in a hotel when I could stay in the comfort of someone else's home for half the amount or a quarter of the amount.
Absolutely. And it's $40 a night at my house, so it's very reasonable. Airbnb, just so you know, for future references, they do. And if you signed onto the site, you'll know that they do background checks on everybody.
Well, $40 a night. Think about that. That Mayor Andy Burke and his Economic Development Office should take this as a way of helping the poor people who need to travel too, can't afford a hotel. And here they can go to the most modest, common working class kind of houses, such as that of Andy and Susan Bureau. And a caller, thanks very much for calling. Who have a modest and inexpensive place to stay. And this is home for them. Here you're coming into their home. I know it's a back door and there's a door separating the two dwellings, but it is a home. And here a common working man can save some money. It seems to me there's so many arguments in favor of this sort of decentralized home sharing marketplace. The city is just going the wrong direction.
Okay. And you're the person you spoke to said what? It was like 27% tax on that?
Yes, that's if I'm remembering my conversation with Clint Cobb, that's what he says he's paying in taxes, all told.
Okay. Well, then, say her house stayed booked for, 29 a week or a month. That's a pretty good chunk of revenue coming back to the city. And then if you take that and multiply it by 20, 30, 1,000, 2,000 people, look at the extra revenue. It just blows my mind that Andy Burke is not, wanting more tax revenue coming in. That way, in the future, we don't have to raise sales tax, property tax, or anything else.
Well, listen, I appreciate your call. Thanks very much. The thing to remember is that what we have here is an oppression. This is an oppression, and because people respect the good people, common folks like me and you, my listener, we respect those in authority. We want to obey their laws. We want to go along with them, but we have to understand that this ordinance is oppressive. Now, if you go to Nuganomics.com, you can read how it's unconstitutional, and the main reason is that it violates the ban on arbitrary and capricious acts or rules or projects or programs. You can't have anything that's arbitrary and capricious as this one is. But in the end, it's an oppressive force. It's a claim against the ingenuity, the hard work, the desire on people to make something more of themselves and to help others. And here, if you have a house, now you can help people. You're providing a service. And Susan is a perfect example of serving common working people who don't have a lot of money, who don't have a lot of savings, and yet who need to travel, or maybe they just want to travel. And here they can stay with her and Andy with his aching heart. He has congestive heart failure, and not, he has a limit on his life by God's providence. And he has his loving Susan to look out for him. You're in their house. Think about that. Some stranger comes and meets Susan and hears about her husband. Maybe there's some nice relationship could come, a friendship could come, maybe a benefactor, maybe Andy needs a surgery and Susan is at wit's end how to pay for it. And yet one of their former guests cares about this family, prays about this couple, and says, let me write the check for that. But that's the kind of thing that happens. You have Chattanooga people having relationships, poor people, and rich. They're all of them can have new relations with strangers who may have turbans on their heads. They may have towels on their heads. Who knows? They may have long flowing garments and weird shoes with little pointy toes because they come from another country. But they're here, and we want them here. And this is an oppression that affects hundreds of people in Hamilton County. Well, let me say in Chattanooga, in the town proper, because hundreds have been denied even thinking about having this internet economy generating cash flow and service to the great and to the small in Chattanooga. And so we need to be concerned about that. Just like you, my listener, and I need to be concerned about Title 55 and the abuse there of, first and foremost, African Americans, poor people, and immigrants. They are the victims of false enforcement against them through Title 55. And even, let me just say, even the slaying of Donna Lynn Allen, I'd say that's an oppression. That is an oppression to have your life seized from you in an act of violence. One bullet in her through that car, and she is dead. She is dead. And she's victim of an oppressive system that enforces over broadly a statute. It's a foot-wide statute enforced as if it were 3 yards wide, as if everybody were involved in commerce. But no, that statute is only on commercial activity. It is within the prerogatives of the state to enforce that. I make no complaint about that. And yet it's enforced on private users. Private meaning non-commercial. And Airbnb is non-commercial. It is private relationships among private people across oceans, across borders, across state lines. And Susan Biro, you're a victim, right?
Yes,
You're
sir.
a victim. You're a victim of, would you say it's an oppression, or is that overstating it, Susan?
No, it's not overstating it at all. It's oppression for sure.
Thanks for joining us, Susan. Susan Biro and her husband Andy live at Thurman Lane and want to have Airbnb, but they're oppressed by a series of words. And those words written by the city council have serifs on them, the little blades on the end of the letter. I like the Helvetica type, which is violence and coercion free. David Tillis, near is better than far, small than big, and simple than complex. It's done in Helvetica type, neutral. David Tillis.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
Road crews have begun work today on Signal Mountain Boulevard to make permanent repairs to an area of U.S. Highway 127 that has shown signs of instability, according to the Tennessee Department of Transportation. During the repairs, the road will be reduced to one lane. Traffic will be controlled with a temporary signal. The project is expected to take 8 weeks, and you can expect traffic delays. A car and a motorcycle collide in Marion County on Highway 27 near Suck Creek Mountain. Reports